This is an HR program on demand, a living seed capsule of work life and workplace coming live from a rooftop in Stockholm, Sweden. It's me, Anne Marie, and
me, Katarina Berg.
A vodcast, if you like, on HR, straight across the counter. Sponsored by HR The Real Deal, HR by HR for HR. Hello, Katarina.
Hello there.
2025. We have sun. The year has started.
Spring is just around the corner, so
yeah,
it is quite nice, actually.
We're looking forward to it. My dear, I was thinking about something. I currently work in a private equity firm, so we invest in quite a few companies out there. Really interesting.
Yes.
And clearly one of the things that we have on our agenda when we invest in companies, whether we are majority or minority, there's always a discussion on board composition. And also, what kind of skills do you need in the board composition in order to help the company grow in the best possible way, regardless of if the company is a startup, scale-up, or if they are mature. Now, the majority of our companies that we invest in are scale-ups. Early or on the move, right?
Right.
I also know that you have experience from quite a few boards, and clearly I would like to tap into this discussion with you on what is the role of the board and how important is it that you have the right board, and what is the right board? Let's talk about that.
That is so many questions in one, but
I
it's
know.
something that I've been thinking a lot about, but not from kind of the debates and the dialogue or the articles that you usually see around board. I think there has been quite streamlined about board in the way that we have known them, or board, shouldn't they be more diverse, and then full stop.
Right.
And I think those buckets are also interesting to dive into and look into and discuss. But I think my first kind of, let's think about how can we, and I'm going to dare to use the word use the board. So in what we call people and comp committee, which usually is like remuneration committee or something like that in most companies, you have the possibility, and you also have the attention of at least half your board to be there. So for us, it's called PCC at Spotify. It's people. And it's also comp committee. And there's always a topic, depending on what time of the year, where we, open kind of the kimono and show them what's happening, the good and the bad and the ugly, what we are working with and what we think is important for them to know about the people side, the culture side, the org structure side. And it's very healthy and very good conversations. And I think it's a lost opportunity for any comp committee or remuneration committee or people organization not to use the board in that way.
True.
Instead of just talking about how big or small or what kind of size of the comp pool, or the salary pool, the equity pool, whatever kind of comp philosophy you have, just to discuss and debate. If they are right too, they have so much experience. They come from different trades, different parts of the world. They are diverse in best case. So it's a leverage of experiences where they can challenge you, they can help you, and vice versa. By having these conversations in the PCC, that brings more kind of leaning in and more dynamic and a bit more kind of oomph into the conversation. And I think it gets more lively in the board, right? So it's dressing them with knowledge.
Yes.
So that was a blog post I did, I think a couple of years ago. Time flies, but that is also how we use the board here, and having what I think is one of the best boards in the world. That has been tremendously rewarding, sometimes challenging, but always in a very helpful and very warm way. The blog post I wrote a couple of weeks ago is again about board. And I've been very fortunate myself to be in boards where they were looking for somebody, and then you go, that are a woman. Yes, undeniably I am, but I didn't feel that it was tokenism. I didn't feel that I got the question. I think it was more about my experience and my skill set of being a behavior scientist. And
Yes.
I've been thinking a lot about that. And if boards are also a bit smart and they don't want to do tokenism, but they maybe want to change the numbers a bit, and not because it's PC and not because it used to be the rant, just because they think that could help the business better
True.
to have a more diverse kind of set of people that look into the perspectives of what it means to become a sustainable, long-term, great business, because it is about the business. If you are in a public or private kind of sector, it comes down to making money, and then you can do good or bad with that money, right? So I'm not coming from a disgruntled place. I'm not coming from why don't people ask me? Because they have, and I'm so impressed. And I also think that not more than anybody else, but I think with what we do as a profession, I can also add things
True.
to the conversation, hopefully for the development, and you can only wish for the growth of the company.
Yeah.
So that is one part of kind of where I spend a bit of thinking now. And then on top of that, if you do the intersectionality, why is that important? I think it's even more important than ever, because of the kind of that technology, I want to say revolution that is happening now.
AI.
So how do you stay human? How do you make sure that you find new ways, both with the help of technology, and ride and catch the wave of technology, so it will work for you, but it will be still interesting and a very nice place to live. And I mean on Earth, in societies, in countries, but also in companies. There's so many things to kind of untangle, so many things to discuss and debate. And I think usually you will benefit when you have an open discussion about it.
Yeah. So do I hear you say, if you're smart and want to drive your business, you also make sure that obviously you have the board composition being diverse.
Yeah.
And one of the aspects that you would add, maybe that is not there, is actually the human side, the HR side, the behavioral side. Because if I generalize, we are, as behavioral scientists, we are a minority in the boardroom. We are. Yeah. And I think what we bring there is, I mean, sometimes there's this discussion on, let's take a practical example. You're doing a reorganization. So on the paper, when you do that sketching, a desktop exercise on a reorganization, it looks like, okay, we can manage this in this amount of time. What you typically then forget is how people react, how long it actually takes to make that change, and so forth. And this is where I think...
Aftermath.
And the aftermath, definitely the aftermath. And this is where I think... just one example, right? But where we actually add our competence in adding that human aspect of how people actually react to change, which you don't see in that desktop exercise in the figures. It's like, okay, if we want to make this turnaround, it will take us Yeah, but if you don't take into account time into change and what that change does to people, then you're actually not going to do that right projection in your business plan.
But you usually do change because something is not working.
Right.
I think if you do everything right, you do change because a lot of things are working and you want them to continue to work. So I think you have to flip that.
Yeah.
The second thing is how costly can a change be? Because if you do it wrong, it's going to be even more expensive than what you were trying to strive to kind of gain or make up for in money-wise. And three, to have people that are confused, hurt, or disgruntled is not necessarily good. So I think that is a good example. I think another example is how many really, no matter if you are a startup, if you are scale-up, or if you're mature, have nailed recruiting.
Yes.
Then you put that on the spectrum, right? And the filter of the new technology, and that we most likely will have to learn to work in a different way. Who in that board, if not people that has been in kind of the new technology and also kind of manage people and know exactly all the ins and outs of the recruitment process. Who can make you do that in a very, very, very swift way with as few mistakes as possible. Again, very expensive. Take another thing, I have changed my mind. I usually gave a lot of advice to especially startups of, no, you don't need HR in the beginning, maybe just somebody that can recruit for you.
Right.
And then where board needs to have somebody or the company needs to have somebody in HR is scale up for sure, but also mature. I think if we talk about board today, not just HR or the organization, just board now, and people then quote us wrong anyway. But
yes, because we are HR,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
But the thing is, if you have somebody with our background, our experience, and our profession in early days of startup and mature, with the changes that is needed right now. You're busy enough when you are scale up, and in scale up most people are agile or they are flexible and they are kind of open to change anyway, because it's all about like speed and trying new things. In the startup phase, I think if somebody in your board can challenge you and groom you and help you and guide you and mentor you into the things that you need to think within people and org space, it's going to be very, very helpful, because who's going to do that? Is that going to be the typical people with the typical backgrounds in the board?
No.
Of course they run businesses, no matter if they came from finance or engineering. Of course they did. But were they ever very interested in the people that's going to do the work? Most likely not. A bit biased, but I dare to say that. Also mature, we've done that, especially mature, making a lot of money and successful. How successful could you be? And if you are, again, if you're I'm not going to say any brands, but we all know the brands that were best in class, best in the world, and then all of a sudden they were not relevant anymore.
True.
That is, you still have to really tinker and be very smart and more so strategic when it comes to your people, your workforce, your workplace, who you are, where you're going, and how to rally the masses. Especially with the big changes and the waves that are coming, and you can't hide for it. So, as you see, I was very, very excited writing it, and I'm still kind of a bit obsessed with, hey, there's a key here that could be super important for...
And under-leveraged.
Totally
under-leveraged.
And there's a secret too. More people that work within this space happens to also not necessarily be men. So if you want to hit two...
Exactly. If you're smart.
Yes, I'm just putting it out there.
The right, diverse board composition, close connection, close dialogue board management team.
But let's talk about diverse in the future, about skills. And then if you add this, you're going to get the other thing too.
Exactly.
Yay!
Very good.
Yes.
Like it. Like it.
Yes.
Let's close it. We're freezing also.
Yes. Stay safe.
Stay strong.
Stay active.
Idemodalje. Idemodalje.
Idemodalje.
Idemodalje. 2025, here we come.
Mrush.
Mrush. Och ge mig mrush.
Madaj.
som den Yu-Gi-Oh! Är. Madaj. Mrush.
Madaj.
Vet du vad mrush betyder, Simon? Alltså det är så fult. Det är ungefär som chas. Fast på serbokroatiska. Mrush. Du hör ju. Man vill inte få ett mrush. Den här, ska du ha den eller?
Ja.
Den är skitig där på sidan. Den har runnit.
Du menar att det är lite kaffe på utsidan?
Ja.
Den är skitig där.
Men den har liksom...
Men kan man göra så här då?
Men nej, du...
Vad gör det? Det är kanske inte okänt vad står någonstans.
Jag får från min son. Jobbar hemifrån. Han ska gå upp till skolan. Jag sitter på kol hemma då. Och han sover då i sovrummet bredvid. Får ett sms. Det är så här man kommunicerar med. Jag får ett sms. Mamma, jag är skitsjuk. Jag går inte upp. Jag somnar om. Japp, han är skitsjuk.
Då får man ju hoppas att han är lite mindre skitsjuk nu.
Nej, det var inte bra.
Vad heter målbrottet på engelska?
Nej, men, absolut. Snygg i håret är det också. Simon, är jag fin i håret? Ja, den där glipan som vi alltid...
Jag menar, gardinen har en öppning. Det har den alltid. Jag tror att jag är född med 13 virvlar här framme.
Vänta.
Vänta.
Fy satan vad kallt det är!
Ja, men vi måste rätta till gardinen.
Hur ser jag ut?
Du ser alltid bra ut. Det är ju det som är problemet.
Vänta. Och nu, okej.